So I think the best place to start is to mention that it's the start of the season, the first home game of the new campaign. It's still August and I've got my big coat on. I think that's an absolute shambles and a disgrace, but we are where we are. It's quite cold, it's been very rainy here at Anfield today, but I suppose the good news is that Liverpool have won. They've won 2-0 again in the second game of the Premier League season, beating Brentford this time after an impressive opening day win over Ipswich. And I think lots of positives again to take from this one. I mean, from those two games as a whole, really. I mean, 2 clean sheets, 4 goals scored, and the underlying numbers look very, very good for Liverpool. I thought they were impressive again, as they were at Ipswich, particularly in that second half, and a kind of similar effect here really in terms of the performance. And I think you can kind of see that they very much deserved to win it across the game here, even though it was difficult at times throughout the game. Brentford are always going to test you, aren't they? They've got a lot of threats, but I thought Liverpool managed that really, really well. And as I say, the underlying numbers again, incredibly impressive from Liverpool. I mean, 2.65 to 0.36 in terms of expected goals, so Liverpool dominant in that aspect. 19 shots to Brentford's 8 shots on target to Brentford's 2, and 4 big chances to Brentford's 1. So that shows you this was a deserved 2-0 victory for Liverpool. Maybe could have even been more. And I think just generally the performance is encouraging for a number of reasons really that I'll get into. And I just think this has been a very, very good start to Arne Slot's Premier League career, and as I say, for a number of reasons. I mean, one of the things I think particularly encouraging today more than anything really is that you thought kind of when Arne Slot came in as the manager that, look, it's going to be some uniquely Premier League tests here that he's going to have to get to grips with. I mean, we saw that under Jurgen really, in terms of, you know, things were happening that, you know, things that you come up against teams and systems and setups and you know, the profile physically of teams, and he had to kind of learn on the job about those, and suffered a few disastrous defeats early on in his reign really that resulted from him not really knowing about the nuances of the Premier League. I'm talking about, you know, you look at teams like Brentford, they're absolutely humongous across the pitch, but they've also got great pace up front in terms of, you know, Wissa and Mbeumo today, but also someone like Ayer at left back who's an absolute giant. He must be 6'5", and you know, those physical profiles all across the pitch. So, you know, that's not something you expect to find maybe in the Eredivisie, and so, as I say, it's a uniquely Premier League thing, because I think the Premier League is uniquely physical across all the top leagues really, and that's why it's such a test. And yet Arne Slot already seems to be, you know, prepared for that fact. I mean, we saw it at Ipswich. He's told his side at half-time that it's all about winning your physical duels, give yourself the platform. And again, I came up into this game against Brentford today thinking, you know, is he going to be ready for what Thomas Frank is going to throw at him, because it's such a difficult and different test really to anything he might have come across. But as I say, Liverpool so encouraging in that aspect today. They seemed prepared for those physical battles. They won those physical battles yet again and gave themselves the platform. They gave themselves the ability to play the football. And I think to see that the manager is already sort of across that aspect and already knows that that's coming, despite it coming to a new league, I think that bodes incredibly well for the season, because I think there's a lot of different challenges you're going to come up against in this league. And I think clearly it shows that his analysis team are doing the right job. He understands how to process that information, to give it to the players, to prepare them for these sorts of tests. So very encouraged by that aspect. I think bodes well for the manager and how he's going to fare in the Premier League. And similarly about the manager as well, actually, I think you could maybe say across these 2 games that Liverpool have kind of made a slow start. Now, we know that was a habit during last season, wasn't it? Slow starts. It's one thing that Arne Slot really needed to eradicate from this team. But I actually think there's kind of a slow start, and then there's a slow start. And I think Liverpool have been different in that aspect in some ways in these first 2 games. So, for example, it was 5 shots all after the first half, two shots on target for Liverpool, 1 for Brentford. And so shows it was a largely even game. But I think what is encouraging about the fact that Liverpool had made a slow start there is that you remember under Jurgen in that, certainly almost in that last 12 months really, is that the slow starts for Liverpool meant that they basically always conceded first. They were always having to come from behind to win or draw games, and that gives you a mountain to climb. But they seem to have eradicated that. Okay, not absolutely at their attacking best in the first half, absolutely, but they weren't giving up golden chances, even though those shot numbers were 5-all. You know, Liverpool manage 0.7 XG themselves and obviously score a goal that puts them ahead, and Brentford managed just 0.19, which I think again just shows that Liverpool, they've got that defensive solidity, not quite slick as you would like in that first half, and that is something I absolutely think that Slot will want his players to be a little bit quicker starting in terms of their football and their going forward in that sense. But I think he'd be so encouraged by the fact that even when they start slowly, they're solid, they're very hard to score against, and they make it difficult for the opposition. And I think the XG numbers really kind of bear that out now, that you know, Arne Slot he's got his side together and he's got them solid. So those slow starts, even though we're seeing that in the attacking aspect, we're definitely not seeing it in the defensive aspect, and they're not open and easy to score against in those first half. Then he gets them in, he makes the right tweaks at the break, and Liverpool come out and blow Brentford away, just as they did with Ipswich, who again shows a manager who's able to change things slightly, tweak things at half time and get his team playing. So again, I just thought another aspect of this performance really that was really hugely encouraging from Liverpool's perspective. Now I just want to go into a couple of individuals again. I want to say in these videos this season, not going to go into every individual, I think maybe just pick out a few and highlight them. And I think the best place to start really is Luis Diaz. We always talk about him, don't we? And we sort of talked coming into this summer that maybe he's a player that Liverpool could feel that they would be able to upgrade on. We know about that interest in Anthony Gordon. I know a lot of supporters frustrated because his end product with Luis Diaz certainly over last season wasn't at the level you would expect, particularly for a player who effectively replaced Sadio Mane. But I thought today a very, very good start on that front. I mean, a brilliant finish from the first goal, an almost Sadio Mane finish, you know, on his left foot, his weaker foot, going in a one-on-one situation. These have been considered weaknesses for Diaz, certainly across last season, and yet he took that so coolly, smashing it into the top corner on his wrong foot. Has Arne Slot worked with him on some of this stuff? Are we seeing the early signs of that? Let's hope so, because I think if he can deliver that end product consistently this season, then there's going to be no doubts that Liverpool would struggle to upgrade on that left-hand side. So I thought very, very good on that front today, and obviously he provides an assist from Mo Salah as well. So very much my man of the match. And as I say, if you can keep that end product going, then Liverpool have got some player on their hands, because his work rate off the ball is brilliant. He drags Liverpool up the pitch with his dribbling. So really brilliant performance from him. Absolutely man of the match for me. Very, very close second. I think maybe I want to talk about Ibrahima Konate. I thought he was towering. I mean, he came in at half time against Ipswich, didn't he? And you thought going into this season that Quanta's got the shirt really from how he performed in pre-season and the fact he was there for all of pre-season. And yet you get that half-time substitution, and Konate so good at Ipswich, and then he comes in today, and again I thought massive for Liverpool. Obviously they didn't have the tallest players up front, just the two diminutive guys in Mbeumo and Wissa, but Brentford had a lot of set pieces and they took a lot of defending, and often it was Konate who's the man who was winning the header. I mean, Liverpool's first goal comes from a counter-attack from a Brentford corner, and it's Konate who wins it. I mean, he wins all 4 of his duels across the 90 minutes, which I think kind of sums him up. 3 headed clearances as well, so a mammoth performance from him. And at the moment it looks like very much he is the man who's got the shirt and got hold of it, because he's performing so well, or certainly since he came on at half-time against Ipswich. Brilliant again today, and he actually completes, I think, at 96% of his passes, which again, you know, that would be the criticism of him. Not as comfortable as Quanta in possession, but he certainly didn't look it today. He didn't look uncomfortable at all. I thought he was very, very good on the ball. So again, that's really hugely encouraging, and looks like he's going to be the man who starts the next game for sure on the basis of this performance. And I also want to mention Ryan Gravenberch. Obviously, we're going to probably zone in on him as long as the transfer window is open at the end of the day, because that is such a focus. But if Liverpool aren't going to sign a number 6, and that is the expectation at the moment, it would be a big surprise if they do dip into that market in the end, because they're not happy with what's available there, rightly or wrongly, and they clearly thought at the start of this window they needed someone in going for Zubimendi. But if it's going to be Gravenberch, then Liverpool fans have to hope that he performs well. And I thought again in today's game, very, very encouraged by what he showed. I thought, you know, nipping in, particularly in the first half, cleaning up little moments where the ball was loose in possession. He always seemed to be there, using his long legs. Very, very cool in tight areas, which you have to be as a number 6. The drop of the shoulder to work space and move the ball on. Very creative in those moments as well, and seemed to be in the right position a lot. It helps that you've got 2 in there. It doesn't have to be a sole 6 and have that job to himself. Very, very helpful to have Alexis McAllister alongside him, who I thought was very good in the second half today. But I think Gravenberch is doing well, and as I say, Liverpool fans have to hope that happens, because it doesn't look like a 6 will be signed. But you know, encouraging signs from him, and I really do like him in that position. I think he's probably going to have some difficult games where he doesn't look like a natural. You know, you think about the likes of Man City and Arsenal when they get around those areas. That's going to be a real test. I think the next game up against Manchester United as well, actually, in terms of stopping them having that counter-attacking threat. But you can only go off what we've seen so far, and I thought a very, very good performance from him again today that gave Liverpool the platform to play. So long may that continue. Now, Do let me know, as ever, in the comments what you thought about the performance. You know, how are you feeling about Liverpool's start? To me, they look very good. Do you agree? Those underlying numbers and the actual results themselves seem to suggest so. So let me know. And obviously, it's Manchester United coming up next. So let me know how you're feeling about that one. It's been a tough game. It was a tough game on 3 occasions last season. So Liverpool really need to break that hoodoo. But they definitely look in good shape to me to do that. And of course, if you can like and subscribe if you're new to the channel, always massively appreciated. Great to be back here at Anfield, and great that the Premier League is back. There's much more of this to come, and hopefully some transfer updates between now and the end of the window. So hopefully I'll see you guys very soon.